Welcome into Rover Sports. Another wonderful week of Rover Sports, and it seems like nonstop controversy here in the Philadelphia area. And so many things to talk about. Tonight it's going to be myself, Sports Talk, Charlie Bowles, and Spencer G. Josh Dacey has a commitment. We want to congratulate Dr. Stephen Lewis. His son Jordan Lewis is graduating as a Maryland Terrapin on his way to Villanova Law School. So big ups for the Lewis family. And I know Dr. Steve has been very busy with two twin boys graduating and, of course, his wonderful daughter, Bobby Lewis, beginning her legal career. So a lot going on for the Lewis family. What we want to start in what I think is an unending controversy, which will be coming to a head as we go to air tonight. We are 97.5 HD2 FM. We're also 860 AM WWDB. We are live on Philly radio. We have Tyler Conklin behind the glass. We have Matt Vito, who's doing our videography, posting our wonderful stuff. And I want to begin with the tush push. So to bring you all up to speed, the tush push was essentially not ratified in April, and we're now in May, and this is the final chance for them to close out the tush push. Spencer, could you tell us about what you've heard about the rule change that was brought out by the Green Bay Packers, what they're talking about banning? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I know that, I mean, the fact that this thing wasn't voted on earlier in the offseason, I mean, it is like, it gives, I guess, the dissenters more time. And I'm assuming that this week is going to be the vote that pretty much determines the upcoming 2025 season. Really, I think we've heard Buffalo, we've heard Green Bay, we've heard Washington. So I think that those have been the most outspoken teams, and I think it's going to be a pretty close vote between the 30 teams.
That's right. So just to frame the issue, originally there was some talk about banning the way the Eagles and Buffalo Bills use the tush push. Basically, upon the snap of the ball, you have players physically pushing the quarterback from behind, and throughout the play, pushing him forward up to and including penetrating the line of scrimmage and moving ahead. They could use this play at all points of the field. They could use it for a 4th down and 1, even a 3rd and 1, or they could use it on the goal line or on the second line. And they also, anytime they want, they usually use it for 1 to 2 yard plays. I haven't seen them. I guess I've seen some 3-yarders where they do it twice. And so what they've done is apparently the Green Bay Packers have broadened out their proposal to suggest that any pushing or pulling would be a penalty. And they go back to a time, 2002, where pushing or pulling was a penalty. And in 2002, the NFL basically eliminated that. So you can push or pull. And so they're trying to go back to that time. And there's a lot of discussion. Obviously, we're going to go around the horn here, talk about pros and cons. Charlie Bowles, this is a deja vu again. We spoke about this last time. We understand they need 16 out of 24 votes. No, I'm sorry, 16. No, they need, I'm sorry, the numbers aren't exactly right. They need 24 out of 32 votes. They need an extreme majority. And last time, it was split down the middle, 16-16, dead 50%. So they need to get another 8 votes to vote this rule in. That is the rule banning the pushing or pulling. Charlie, you've heard about it. The Eagles are kind of nonchalant. They're saying it's no big deal. And you have the Green Bay Packers who are really taking the lead with trying to ban this. What have you heard about it? Fill in the listeners. This is Charlie Bowles. He's going to fill in as to the constraints of the rules and also discuss your view about it per se.
Great to be here, guys. Well, start out, I think, with Rich McKay saying that nobody likes how clearly a tush-push specific ban would target just the Eagles and Buffalo, for example. But when you think about the numbers, the tush-push accounted for literally 0.28% of the plays last season. Eagles and Bills converted them, I think, 87%. The rest of the league is 71%. So it's not like it's that much of a difference where the Eagles and Bills are at 90 and the rest of the league is at 10%. I kind of think, for whatever reason, because they keep amending the rule, trying to get cute about it, I think Goodell went around and did a tour, and I think Goodell wants it banned. I kind of think it's going to get banned. I think it's not fair. I'm not an Eagle fan. Everyone knows that. In Buffalo, I picked to win the Super Bowl this year. And again, when you see the numbers and you look at them and you realize this is not such a big disparaging number like everyone thinks it is. I think it's ridiculous that they're even having this vote. Like, what happens if someone invents another play next year that nobody can stop? I think you're setting a very bad precedent for the future. I can just say that.
I agree. And this is my concern. This football is a physical game. And blockers, the job of a blocker is to push. And there are times in the field of play, and we've seen it before, where a wide receiver or running back is up against a group of defenders trying to push the runner back, and then they're inadvertently blockers. They could be anybody. They could be running backs, wide receivers, linemen. And so football is a game of pushing against and trying to overcome and beat your opposition by moving ahead. That's the whole nature of the game. So if they make a global rule that says you can't push ahead unless you have the football or unless you're in front, if you're in front of the runner or the ball carrier, that's a block. But the fact is, in football, these things are moving fast, and people, it's a chaotic sport by nature. It's a violent, chaotic sport. So my fear, ironically, honestly, this sounds crazy, even though I am obviously an Eagles fan, I think the Eagles are still going to be able to gain 1 to 2 yard gains with the team they have. And if they ban the very specific play, narrow constraints of the exact tush push, I don't think I would really have a problem with it, okay? Something called the law of unintended consequences is when you ban pushing and pulling isn't a big deal, let's face it. You don't see people being pulled ahead. This isn't Ring Around the Rosie. This isn't like the May dance, even though we are in the month of May. The fact is, if there's a question of pushing any amount, even an inch, so a wide receiver catches it, A.J. Brown catches it, and somebody just hits into him and ends up pushing him an inch, the flag goes down, that's a push, and then what do they have to do? They've got to replay it to see if that is really a valid call or not. So I believe this is going to be, and I'm predicting if they do make this rule, the 0.00%, like Charlie said, whatever the low percentage, they're going to end up opening up a Pandora's box because coaches, it's a competitive game. They're going to see with their eyes and the eyes in the sky and the high-resolution 4D cameras and all of the cameras around the league, they're going to see a lot of pushes, and they're going to be throwing a lot of flags, and that's going to be much more of an issue than this one tush push. So, Spence, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm just curious. I mean, the play you're talking about now is very different than the actual, tush push. That is the sneak play,
right?
And I think the motives maybe. I'm just trying to think about the motives maybe for teams that want to ban that play. I think that play is weird because there's always this kind of this gray area with forward progress, and I've seen a lot of fumbles where guys will punch the ball out where the offensive player, like the play goes on like another second or two. And then you see, I don't know if you see injuries, but then it's like, when is forward progress? So it's such a gray area. Like, when does the ref blow the whistle? How long will the players be pushed ahead, or then will defenders continue to punch at the ball and the offensive player might think, okay, this play's over. This is BS. The ref should call it dead. And I think that it might clean up turnovers. It might clean up the game. It might be like the pitch clock where the offense might get used to not doing this.
We have another Rover on the line. Coach Dace, I believe you have a commitment with one of you coach so many different sports, but you know what? The fact that you broke loose in order to call in, along with Charlie, Spencer, and me, we have you for a limited amount of time. Tomorrow, they are allegedly voting on the new amended and the altered rule, which sounds to me like it's going to be banning pushing and pulling on the part of the offense at any point, as opposed to narrowly banning at the inception of the play at the snap. What are your thoughts about this rule? What do you think is going to happen, and what will the implications be, Coach Stacey?
Well, Doc, we have the best offensive line coach in the business, so I'm sure he will find some variations, some loophole like most politicians, and still get the most out of it. So I think it'll be banned. But I would already think that Jeff Stoughton's already finding ways to work through that. So I trust in Stout. That's what I think.
So, Josh, if they ban pushing, I was saying that since 2002, when they revert back to that essentially, there weren't as many cameras. The cameras were not high resolution. You didn't have all these tremendous effects. You didn't have all these replays. All of that is new. And I don't even know if that, let's say the referees miss a push. Let's say a wide receiver catches the ball on the outside and one of his fellow teammates on the offense push him a yard, whether it's a first down or not. By the rule, technically, that would be a penalty if indeed they enact this rule. Now, let's say the refs miss it. I don't know whether this will be something that could be reviewed. It's obviously would be a missed call, but I think that this idea of pushing is much more pervasive, and it really opens up a much more gray area than the actual tush push itself. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you, Doc. I think it's going to be real close in terms of what you're going to watch for and everything else. I think you're going to. I mean, are we going to go back and appeal every play that happens? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, this is a physical game. It's a violent game. Guys are just they're in a meat grinder. It's like they're in the middle of a tornado, and they're not in the eye of the hurricane. We had a nice long-form interview with Freddie Mitchell, and many of you saw it on Bruce Grosinger Facebook, and if you haven't, then you need to like if you like, subscribe if you haven't. You can't really subscribe on Facebook, so I just like to say that even though you can't subscribe. But Freddie, actually being an offensive player, he actually came down on the side of wanting to not allow offensive players to push ahead. And his reason was the defense can't push their own men, so why should the offense push it? And he and I, of course, had a respectful and spirited disagreement. Spencer, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure this is gonna make a huge difference. I mean, I think for the Eagles it will hurt because I think that in the fourth and short areas they're gonna have to amend their strategy. I mean, I do think that Stoutland and this offensive line, I do think they're probably gonna come up with ways to counteract it, but it's gonna be different. I mean, I'm not all that appalled at getting rid of it. I'm interested to see it because I think the defense might have more of a chance, because I don't like how pass interferences is governed in the NFL, that's a spot foul. I don't like that the clock's always running. Like there's so many rules in football. I wouldn't like to see it be reviewed either. I think there's way too many instant replays in the National Football League. So,
well, I agree with you. If it is not considered reviewable play, that means the refs will probably let some incidental pushing occur.
Yeah.
So if it's not a tush push, it's very obvious to see what a tush push looks like at its onset, at its inception. But if they're going to say, hey, we're going to look the other way on inadvertent pushing, and it's not going to be reviewable, Now, again, the coaches can bitch all they want.
But you don't want it
But
to
I
be
mean, that
choppy.
makes it a little bit better.
You don't want the game to be choppy.
I'm going to give a hypothetical for Charlie. So, Charlie, what I'm going to say is I believe the Eagles, like you said, 87%, they get a first down or a touchdown. I look at the Eagles' offensive line. They're losing Mekhi Becton, but they're gaining this guy, Green, who is not a well-regarded guard. Regarded guard, that sounds like a redundancy. But you're going to have A.J. Dillon, a massive fullback from Green Bay. You're going to have Ty Robinson, who was able to prevail 8 out of 9 times for those Nebraska Cornhuskers. He's a fullback. So you get 2 massive fullbacks. You also have choices of runners. You could have Saquon, who is a tremendous runner. You also have, you might see various forms of the wishbone. You know, you might see, obviously, Saquon can certainly get a yard. Jalen Hurts can certainly get a yard. You can have great blockers if you have Saquon, but if you have the blockers in front, not behind. If you got A.J. Dillon, Ty Robinson, in a massive line, and then you just hand the ball off to Saquon, even on a wildcat formation, you're going to have like 2,000 pounds of beef. I think this play will still be unstoppable, even without the backwards push. Charlie, with that hypothetical, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it all sounds good. I just think that the Philly was able to figure out something that no one else, not even Buffalo really could figure out. At the end of the day, when you take it away from him, is it going to matter? Honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I think time will tell. I just can't get a feeling like, what does Philly look like? Because we haven't had to live, I guess the Eagle fans especially, haven't had to live and wonder for 2 or 3 years now. So I guess time will tell. I really don't have a strong opinion either way on which way I think that's going. I think I'll kind of wait and see.
So from my view, I would weigh in to say, as an Eagles fan, I don't think that banning that specific play will really have any effect. Why? Because, as Charlie pointed out, it's less than 3% of the overall plays. I believe when you have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, they're incredible runners. And you also added 2 incredible blockers. A.J. Dillon is a fullback. And the Eagles have talked about, and in fact, Sirianni has talked about bringing a fullback back into the fold. And Ty Robinson, he's a Swiss Army knife, Spence. He's a tremendous player. I think, I know that you know the guy, you like him. Tell us about Robinson. We have about 50 seconds left before the break.
So you're not going to be emotional if it gets removed tomorrow. You're not going to be, because
when you say emotional, I don't know what your definition of emotional is.
You just said the Eagles. You just said the Eagles are still probably going to convert. So your mental state, you shouldn't be.
I don't have a mental state problem.
No,
or
you shouldn't
problem,
be upset. So. Well, are you going to be upset at the tush push being banned, or no? Because you just said it's not going to matter in your own words.
Okay. So my feeling is, there's different degrees. I'm not going to jump off any bridges.
So you've lightened your thoughts on it, because you were very adamant the other weeks about how this is horrible for the game of football, and now it seems like you're still going to be confident that the Eagles are going to convert.
I'm not worried. I'm worried about the idea of banning pushing. So we are going to continue this after the break. We are Rover Sports.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675. That's 610-222-5675.